Hello and welcome back to the channel. Today we'll begin a new series which I'm calling the Titian Philosophy series. Essentially, it will be a series of videos where I explain certain crucial terms, concepts, and ideas that are necessary for a good understanding of Tilian presuppositionalism. A lot of people say that Van Til can be very difficult to understand, so this is a kind of conceptual guide for navigating Van Til's somewhat peculiar philosophy. I hope this series will benefit you guys and help you have a better understanding of Van Til's apologetic method. This video would be the first installment of this series. I should point out that this series isn't exactly going to be structured in any way. I will just address issues as they come to my mind, so there's no particular watch order or anything. So in this video, I'm going to be explaining the concept of a brute fact. In Van Til's writings, we can find numerous references to the phrase brute fact. So it is obviously a very important part of his philosophy and apologetic approach. Those who have studied a bit of philosophy may not find the phrase brute fact to be unfamiliar. Brute facts are a common concept in philosophy. The Stanford Encyclopedia of Philosophy defines them this way. Quote, "A brute fact is a fact that is unexplained, i.e. a fact of which there is no explanation." End quote. This definition is helpful enough, but we don't just want the definition. We want to see how the concept fits into Van Til's methodology. To see that, let us examine a few passages from Van Til's writings. In An Introduction to Systematic Theology, he writes, quote, "There never were any facts existing independent of God which he had to investigate. In him, fact and interpretation of fact are coterminous. Either one thinks of God as the holy, self-conscious being for whom there are no brute facts, or one makes God dependent upon brute facts." End quote. One thing this passage makes clear is that Van Til thought of brute facts as facts that exist independently of God. In other words, brute facts are uncreated facts. If the Christian doctrine of creation is true, then there are no brute facts, since every fact would be determined by God. The concept of a brute fact in Van Til's thought is fleshed out in his analysis of Kant. In Christian Theistic Evidences, Van Til writes, "But Kant does not think reason can envelope the whole area of brute fact. More than that, he does not think reason can comprehensively interpret even one brute fact. Reason deals with universals. It must deal with universal. It seeks to bring individual brute facts into relation with one another. To do this, it must subtract from the uniqueness of individuals. When an individual is treated as a member of a class and we make general statements about the class we have subtracted from the uniqueness of that individual. I may put an individual into ever so many classes. Then I may add what I have said about each one of these classes. Still, I will not have begun to exhaust the meaning of the individual." End quote. Here Van Til contrasts reason, which deals with universals, and brute facts, which are individual in character. Reason seeks to explain brute facts by applying universals to them. He says that by using universals, reason seeks to bring brute facts in relation to one another. However, by doing this, the uniqueness and individuality of the facts is lost. What we can conclude from this description is that brute facts are inherently purely individual in character. That is, they stand alone, unrelated to any other facts. On its own, a brute fact has no relation to any other fact. It is by the use of universals that the mind attempts to bring these facts in relation to one another. Van Til goes on to say, "Accordingly, I must give up the notion of absolute truth. With all my categories, I can but express aspects of the truth. Brute fact will never allow itself to be completely caught in the net of my categories. There will always be more of brute fact for me to catch. When I apply the category of causality to the brute facts that meet me, I do throw light on an aspect of the behavior of brute fact. But I can never apply the category of causality to the existence of brute fact itself. that would mean that I had explained the whole of brute fact. But when I claim to have explained the whole of brute fact, I involve myself in contradiction and thus deny my own principle of explanation. If I am to continue to claim that I can explain anything at all, I shall have to give up claiming to be able to explain everything, and give up the idea that everything is essentially explicable by the human mind." End quote. Once again, we run into the idea that brute facts are inherently inexplicable. And this makes sense. If brute facts, by their very nature, are unrelated to any other fact, then they cannot have explanations. Explanation, after all, is a type of relation. If A explains B, then A is related to B. Consider this passage from Van Til. Kant himself says that on the basis of empiricism we can have only brute facts and more brute facts, but no systematic relation between them. He adds that on the basis of rationalism we would have only order, but it would be merely the idea of order without any ordering of facts. Kant sought to remedy this situation by means of his Copernican revolution. No one had ever conceived the idea that the mind itself was doing the ordering, even as it was doing the observing. Facts cannot be observed, argues Kant, except they are observed as being incorporated into systematic arrangement. So it is the mind itself that imposes its categories of substance and causality upon nature, even as it observes nature. Nature means causally related facts, and causally related facts are brute facts observed and arranged by the mind of man. End quote. Once again, we see that brute facts are facts with no systematic relation to other facts. Brute facts are facts that are just there somehow. No explanation, no rationale for their existence or behavior, no system that provides unity to them. Thus, we can define a brute fact as a fact that is independent of a system of facts. A system facilitates relations between facts. If a fact is independent of a system, then it has no relation to other facts. Such a fact can have no explanation. It just exists somehow. For Van Til, the notion of a brute fact was one major point of disagreement between the Christian and unbeliever. The Christian says that there are no brute facts, but the unbeliever says that there are. For the Christian, the notion of brute factuality is antithetical to the Christian conception of God. Brute facts are by their very nature uncreated and undetermined. But Scripture teaches that all facts are created facts, and that all facts are determined by God's sovereign decree. God's eternal plan is the system that determines all facts and their relations. So the Christian metaphysic cannot stomach the existence of brute facts. The unbeliever, however, does not believe in creation or providence. For him, there is no system that precedes and predetermines the facts. Thus, for him, the facts are just there, and any relations between facts are supplied subsequently by the mind of man. For him, the facts are inherently brute. This conception of the difference between a Christian and unbelieving metaphysics serves as the basis for Van Til's transcendental argument for Christianity. Van Til argued that brute facts are inherently unknowable and that any attempts to know them lead to subjectivism. Therefore, since the unbeliever posits the existence of brute facts, his position is reduced to absurdity. By the way, if you want a meatier treatment of this argument, you can check out my book, The Folly of Unbelief, specifically chapter 4. I'll leave a link to it in the description. But anyways, that's all for today, guys. I hope you were able to learn something. I'll see you again in the next installment of this series.